Good morning to all my friends and family, and welcome to this episode of Jim's 5am Club, where today I'm going to present a sub-episode entitled What I Have Learned from Tony Robbins, a project that I've been thinking about doing for years, but now I've got the opportunity. I thought that it was just perfect to kick it off and to get through it. So today is episode number 2 of 50 or more. I plan to do 50 episodes on all of the things that I've learnt from Tony Robbins. Given that now that I'm 63, I've been to 3 of his UPW sessions, the Unleash the Power Within sessions, and I've also not only read but studied 2 of his earlier books, Awaken the Giant Within and Unlimited Power. And of course, I've also launched my YouTube channel, Jim's 5am Club, where I've accumulated over 1,600 vlogs, videos of book summaries and learnings of life experiences, where I try, where possible, to pass on OPE, the wisdom of other people's experiences, to try and capture them, to try and articulate them as best I can, using some of my life experiences and overlaying them and supporting them with lessons, as I said before, that I've also picked up from all the other books that I've read and the book summaries that I've presented on my YouTube channel. So following on from yesterday's video, the last thing we talked about is how children know how to influence their biochemistry through movement and voice. And Tony Robbins at the recent UPW session encouraged everybody to be more childlike when it comes to experiencing and living their lives by being more in tune to movement, to voice, and to their experiences, to be ever present in their experiences, so that they can make the most of the opportunities as and when they present themselves. He also mentioned the importance of being a fast learner and being self-directed in your learning. I remember years ago going to a Jim Rohn seminar where Jim Rohn talked about the importance of being a learner, a reader, and he said that at the end of the day, a university education will put food on your table, will make your life comfortable, but self-education is the key. And this is something that Tony Robbins continues to push, the importance of self-education and self-directed education, and to be a life learner, which is the absolute key to trying to grow and develop and to achieve fulfillment by becoming a more expanded presence in this world and having the expanded presence and capabilities to be able to help others who can't really help themselves. So Tony Robbins talks about the importance of learning and of understanding patterns. He talks about patterns quite a lot in his books and his materials, and he suggests here that the key to one's life is to build an inventory, a repository of lots and lots of patterns, because the world is cyclical in nature, history repeats itself over and over again. It doesn't repeat itself exactly the same way every time, but you can be in a better position to make good decisions once you understand how things operate and how there's a beginning and an end and a new beginning and a new end, and life just goes on and on and on. So rather than being overwhelmed with the cyclical nature of the world, to take it and to use it and to leverage it where possible to make the most of the opportunities that are available to us. So the first key point that comes from Anthony Robbins is that we need to know and understand and recognize patterns, and not to react to them, but to respond to things, and not only to react and respond, but to also be able to anticipate things before they happen. And this is where Anthony Robbins says that the successful entrepreneurs and the leaders, the best leaders, are the ones who are able to anticipate and act before things happen. And he gives an example of a hockey player. I forget the name that he used in the UPW, but he says that there's a particular hockey player who says that every other person, every other player skates to where the puck is, but he says the key to success in hockey is to be able to skate to where the puck is going to be, and that requires anticipation. It requires the ability to have various patterns loaded and available in your mind, in your brain, so that when a particular situation arises, you can read the situation and act in a way that's going to empower you and going to deliver the best possible outcome. So the ability to anticipate is even more powerful than the ability to react and respond. And the difference between reaction and response, I remember once again going to another seminar by Stephen Covey years ago, and he said that from an animalistic, primitive perspective, all animals react to stimuli. So something happens and they just habitually, instinctively react. So there's no thought that goes into it. It's instinctive, it's loaded into their behaviors, and it's used as a survival mode and a survival means. And we humans as well have a number of these instincts that are loaded into our primitive brain. So we use them in times of danger to survive. So we have the fight, flight, or freeze response to situations. But what Steve Covey said, that given that we live in a world which is no longer as dangerous as it once was, we don't have saber-toothed tigers lurking just around the corner, and we don't have to fight for our life every day. He says that modern humans have a more developed part of the brain, which allows for reasoning and allows for thinking and contemplation and planning. So he says that balanced humans have the ability to think about what is going on. So in between the stimulus or the thing that's happening and our behavior, or our ability to respond, is a thing called thinking. So you can think about what you're going to do so that you generate the best possible future outcome and future result. So we've gone from being reactive to being responsive or response able. And then Anthony Robbins says that in order to be a great leader, you need to not only react and respond, but you need to be able to use those muscles, those abilities, to do it in a way which is in anticipation. So we need to live with the ability to be able to anticipate where that ferry is going to go, and to know how to act and to make the most of the situation. Because Anthony Robbins reminds us that in the world there is nothing much, all that much, that is new. And we read that in the Old Testament as well, in the book of Solomon, where he says that nothing much is new. Everything that we think about, all the problems that we have, are problems that have been experienced by past generations, and they'll continue just to revolve and to recycle themselves forever and a day. But as we said, and I just reiterate one more time, that there is a pattern to everything, and there is a different game. And the call to action from Anthony Robbins is that we need to understand the games and be able to anticipate and act in a way that is productive and going to help us in ways that you never thought possible. And that's why Jim Rohn, that's why Anthony Robbins, that's why all the motivational speakers and philosophers of old remind us of the importance of reading and accumulating OPE, other people's experiences, other people's patterns, because they know that society cycles through similar sort of patterns over and over again. And if you understand those patterns, then you understand the problems that people face, and then by understanding the problems, you can also tap into the possible solutions, the options, and I guess generate better outcomes. And if those outcomes don't work, then you change. Other patterns will reappear, and you just modify your approach to get the best outcome. Anthony Robbins also says, and I love this is an absolute gem. He says, nothing much is new. It's just new to you. We have only just realized it, and we celebrate it as being new. But as we get older, we just get to the position of our parents and grandparents and understand what they were saying and why they were saying it. And whilst it appears new, it isn't all that new, because our parents and our grandparents got it from their parents and their grandparents, and life just cycles on and on. So a very, very powerful and empowering lesson there, that it's not new. The things that are happening in our lives, the problems, the challenges that are going on in the world today are not new. They've always been here. It's just that now in 2023, we've got social media, we're living in a digitized society, and everything is being transmitted at lightning speed, and we're being overwhelmed with lots and lots of news, lots of drama, and that's what's causing us to be anxious. So the first thing Anthony Robbins said is that we need to understand how patterns work, and to know that patterns are the basis of all people's behaviours. And then the second thing he talked about and he talks about in his books and his seminars, is that we need to be able to utilize these patterns, to use patterns to gain a result. And the fact that using patterns and understanding patterns releases from fear. As the philosophers of old, I think it was Aristotle, would say, dogs only bark at things that they don't understand. People fight and argue over things they don't understand, and hence a lot of the fears, a lot of the uncertainties, and a lot of the doubts that we harbour in our lives and in society are based on the fact that people don't understand the pattern and can't use past patterns to understand where the future is going to go. But if you sit and think, and if you sit and use the patterns, then you're in a better position to be less stressed, less anxious, and more focused and more action oriented, because just like the hockey player, the ice hockey player, you know where the puck is going to go, and all you need to do is to position yourself in front of that opportunity and make the most of it when it presents itself. The timing is the key. It's not always good or easy to time things perfectly, but as we say, if you understand the pattern and position yourself, then you've got a better opportunity of making the most of that when the time comes. And as Anthony Robbins says, it releases you from fear. The other thing that Anthony Robbins talks about is the importance of not only recognizing patterns and using patterns, but to also incorporate and to create new patterns in your world that work for you, to create your own patterns, to identify patterns that other people use, to model yourself on other people's patterns, and to use that knowledge for your benefit, because if you benefit, then you can be a beacon and a model to help other people grow and develop and benefit as well. Anthony Robbins also goes on to say that you are strong in many areas of your life, and the key thing is to try and identify what your strengths are, because we all have strengths. Each and every person is born into the world different from each other, but the reason why we're different from each other is that we're different for each other. So we're born with certain strengths, certain aptitudes, where we're a little bit better than everybody else. And if you want to be a great athlete, or if you want to be a great leader, all you need to do, and I remember learning this at Steve Covey seminar, which was over there at the Opera House back in the late 80s, and he said that all you have to do is to be above average in the half dozen things that make a difference. So you need to identify what those half dozen things are in a particular sport, in a particular trade or whatever, and you need to try and push yourself to close the gap and be above average in a number, half dozen or so elements. And those half dozen or so elements, when you add them all together and piece them together, will make a significant difference in the execution. So we are all strong, we are all good at something, and we need to understand that, and to know that the things that we're really, really good at, we do automatically. They're habitual, they're patterns that we just do without even thinking, because they're part of our subconscious. We've become so good at it, we no longer need to think about it, our body automatically recognizes and reads the pattern and anticipates where it's going and just acts on our behalf without us even having to think about it. And the other thing that Anthony talks about here is that the most important pattern is how we utilize and how we manage our energy sources, because energy, our energy, your energy, is the source of all change. And if you don't have good energy, then you're not going to be able to do many things in life. So the key message from Anthony Robbins, and this is something that I learnt many, many years ago when I read his books and when I went to his UPW back in the mid-90s. I think I went to the second and third one in succession here in Sydney, and it was an absolute ball, just like the one was in 2023 that we just experienced. And he talks about the importance of having strong energy and maintaining the energy and knowing how to access and tap into that energy. Because, as Anthony Robbins reminds us, every path that we go along in our life, everything that we do has a hump in it. There's a hump in the road, there's a little bump in the road or a pothole. And in order to get over that hump or through those potholes, we need a certain amount of energy. We need a certain amount of momentum so that when we hit that hump, we get over it and we don't roll backwards or stop or have a stillbirth. So what we need is energy. We need energy in terms of confidence and our ability to just push over, under, through any barriers that appear in the road. And if you don't, succeed at first, as we know, we just try again. But we try using different ways. We alter our approach. Now, if you keep on trying to do the same thing over and over again using the same approach, then that's not going to always be effective. You need to alter your approach, as Anthony Robbins says, to give yourself the biggest chance of success, given that you know where you're going, you've got your momentum, you've got your energy, and you just need to get there. And as we always know, the old catch cry is, you can't stop a person who knows where they're going. So we need energy to be able to get us through those tough times. We need energy to get us through the cognitive dissonance that we may have, the internal conflicts, where we doubt ourselves, where others convince us to doubt ourselves, and to know that there are different seasons, there are different chapters, and there are different phases in each person's life. And just like yesterday, I came to you from this position over here and it was a beautiful morning, today is different. It's like it's in a different season, even though that we're experiencing springtime here in beautiful Sydney. Today is overcast, it was raining heavily overnight, but who knows, by this afternoon it may blow over and it may become a beautiful day. But Anthony Robbins talks about the fact that we've got the different seasons in our lives, and from 0 to 21 he describes as springtime, from 22 to 42 is summer, from 43 to 63 is autumn, and from 63 to 83 is winter time. So that's just a rule of thumb in terms of how to look at the different years of your life. But also Anthony Robbins says that age is not a number, it's an energy level. So if you know how to use energy, if you know how to tap into energy, if you know how to maintain and maximize your energy, then you're going to be in your springtime and your summer for much longer than most people are. I also remember my uncle Angelo Guthrapdakis, who has since passed away, a mathematician, a physicist, a champion at learning. He always told me that aging is a step function. It doesn't happen linearly in our lives, and that you can be, in your summer and your springtime for many years, and all of a sudden you wake up one day and you're feeling much, much older. So that's just an aside that I've learnt and I've been able to incorporate in my life. But to know that one day we're just going to feel a little bit older, but let's try and push that one day as far away as possible so that we can live with good energy and good health for as long as we can. Because Tony Robbins says that we need to be students of science, we need to be students of gravity, and to learn how to use it, because energy is everything. He also says that when it comes to leadership, clarity is power, and clarity gives energy. There are some people, when it comes to the future, when it comes to problems, who just say, what can I do? What do I do now? And others say, move over, I can handle it. Because a leader creates their own culture, with energy being the base. You can't be a great leader unless you're able to harness and release energy, and also energize the environment and the people around you, because you can't fake false energy. This is another beautiful point that Tony Robbins makes. You can't fake false energy, because people are really, really good with their bullshit meters, the BS meters, and they can see if you're faking it, because having good energy, having strong energy, having productive energy, and energy that welcomes other good energy from other people is something that people can really tap into and recognize, and it's magical once you come across it. And for those who attended UPW 23, you know what I'm talking about. The amount of energy that was being generated by those 9,000 people from 69 different countries was just absolutely spectacular and never ending. The other thing I learnt from Tony Robbins many, many years ago at those early UPWs is that depending on how you see and how you think about energy will determine how you energize yourself. If you see that energy is something that gets depleted and needs to be replenished through food or through sleep or through something else, that will limit you to a certain extent. I remember Tony Robbins talking about the fact that he was referring to a sports person back in the 80s. I don't know, I can't remember who the sports star was, but the sports star said he had a belief that the more energy he used, the more energy he created. So just having a different belief system about your energy sources is going to dramatically change how you feel about energy. And Tony Robbins once again talked about Tom Brady saying that at the end of his games, when the matches are tied and everybody is thrashed to a pulp in terms of their energy sources and are so tired, Tom Brady is able to get his testosterone to somehow surge and spike at a time when everybody else is at their weakest, and he's able to pull off the miracle play, the miracle pass, and just do things which are just superhuman. So once again, the call to action is to manage your energy, because energy is everything, and energy can be influenced by the way you think, the way you talk, the way you breathe, the way you hold your body. So it's all about state, as Anthony talks about, and we'll talk about a little bit later. But to be able to get into the physiology that's going to help you be the best you possibly can is something that is key. And Anthony also talks about the fact that we need to practice, and you get rewarded in public what you practice in private. And we need a different energy to practice in private. Your physical, emotional, spiritual energy levels will impact how you connect to yourself and to other people. And it's different. It's harder when you're in private. You don't have an audience. You don't have anyone to push you, to cajole you. You've just got yourself. So this is where Tony Robbins says that, you know, what you do in private, what you do when nobody else is watching, is something that's going to set you apart from most other athletes, most other people. So you need to be honest with yourself. You need to walk the road less traveled. You need to do the things that are going to have the greatest impact at a time when nobody else is around and when nobody else is pushing. So this is where it's important to try and manage and invoke your best energy levels when it's easy to be lazy, it's easy to be weak, it's easy to do nothing. And as Jim Rohn said many years ago at a seminar that I went, that he presented here in Sydney, to be successful is very, very easy. Very easy to be successful, but it's even easier to be not successful. And that was a very profound moment for me, just to hear that. To do things, to do anything is really easy, but to do nothing, to procrastinate, to talk yourself out of it is much, much easier. And hence that's why most people don't achieve or get to the destination that they want to get to, because it's easier just to sit there and drift in the current and go with the flow. So we need good energy. We need energy in order to connect in all aspects of our lives. We need physical energy, emotional energy, spiritual energy, and all of that energy will enable us to connect in a productive and positive way to the things that we need to do. So to have a good relationship, you need to have and manage your energy flow, and you need to do it consistently, day in, day out, and not to be inconsistent. The most important thing in the world that people measure and look at is consistency of application. So you can't be hot and cold. People need to see you as being predictable when it comes to your energy levels, so that you're not a morning person one day and a cranky old bugger the other morning. People need to be able to know that you're predictable and consistent with your energy flow and how you implement and release your energy, so that they too can surf that energy that you project. So the key point that Anthony made at the seminar and in his books, and I must admit I also listened to many of Tony Robbins' tapes in the 90s there. I remember I couldn't wait to get in the car in the morning to put a tape into the tape system in the car and just listen for half an hour on one of his mastery series, and just listen to the interviews and all the things that he used to talk about And then when I finished work, I just couldn't wait to get back to the car park, to get into the car and listen to the tape again and again and again. I don't know if it's just me, but I grew up listening to motivational tapes because I enjoyed it. And as you can see now, 30 years later, now I have my own YouTube channel where I continue to express and do the things that I love. So the key point, as we mentioned, is to look after your energy level in order to have a better life. You need to invest in your energy level in terms of what you eat, how you sleep, how you think, who you hang out with, what you do physiologically to be in a beautiful state, to be in a powerful state, and to be in the right state at the right time, and also to understand that we need to meet people where they are in terms of their seasons of their life, their phases and chapters of their life as well. So the key to transformation is energy, and energy comes, or the strongest energy comes from your movement. And I've been able to appreciate this even more over the years because I have been a karate instructor. I did get my black belt in martial arts. I also got a black belt in weapons. I've also been a dance fitness instructor. I've been a runner. I've been a swimmer, and I do appreciate, I do love the fact that energy comes from movement. Strong energy comes from strong movement. So once again, a key point. The other thing that Anthony talked about is that we need to be careful with what we eat and how much we eat, because most people eat in a way that depletes their energy, because digestion uses up lots and lots of energy. So there you go. Another session, another day. I might call this day 2 of my 50-day challenge, where I'm going to push myself to try and put together another episode of what I have learnt from Anthony Robbins every day for 50 days or more. I don't know how many of these vlogs I'm going to be able to generate and do, but I've set a goal, I've set a mission to generate 50, and if you want to follow me, by all means, you're more than welcome, because at the end of the day, we're all partners in each other's growth and development, and the job that we all have to do is to live, learn, and pass on the experiences that we have generated in our own lives, the knowledge, the wisdom, but also to accumulate and pass on the experiences that we can inherit from other people, from other people's books, from other people's book summaries, from documentaries, from seminars, from tapes, and all the other sources that we can get it from. And to stand guard at our mind, knowing that there's a lot of conflicting media chatter and noise that is going on out there, and to be closed-minded to a certain extent, knowing that if you're too open-minded, your mind will end up being the rubbish tip of everybody else's garbage. So as Anthony Robbins suggests, we need to have our peer groups, people who are like-minded, people who are going to hold us accountable, who are going to push us, who are going to cajole us, to bend us and stretch us to be the best version that we can possibly be. And to have, by all means, lots of friends, lots of family, but to know that friends and family are there to comfort us and to keep us in a holding pattern, and to be able to swap between family, friends, work peers, and also a peer group that are going to hold us accountable and allow us to grow, develop, and be the best we can possibly be. Yasas, and we'll chat again soon.